Thank you so much, Machine. And listen to Kadril dropping the frag out CSGO terminology. Nicely done. Yes, I am Quickshot, joined by Trouble for your debut LEC cast. We were supposed to cast EU Masters on this stage last year.
A year and a half ago?
But it didn't happen.
It's happening right now. That's
so
what
it
matters.
is. We're going to jump into SK versus XL, and I think I immediately want to ask you, where do we focus our attention? For me, you heard from the analyst desk, Jenax is sort of the danger man for SK. He's played 6 different champions in the 6 previous games, and he seems to be the tool that can unlock advantages.
I mean, the man is doing well in lane, right? Why not facilitate him with something that's absolutely broken, give him an S tier pick, something that he can carry with? Because, let's be honest, the mid game for SK has not been going the greatest, so maybe facilitate Jenax's good laning phase with something more proactive from Treatz.
I like that word, facilitate, be proactive, because when I turn our attention to XL, it has been Dan the man. If he doesn't pop off, if he doesn't have influence, XL don't manage to pick up leads, so he's the guy that has to step up.
Absolutely. I mean, he found Laure, what, twice? 2 solo bolos onto the champion from Spring Split. I think he can do the same here.
Well, let's find out as we load up onto the Rift for the first game of Saturday here at the end of week 3. And we're nearing the end of the first half of the regular season. This will be the 7th game played for all of our teams, 2 more. And we'll have the first round robin starting to wrap up. And for SK, straight out the gates, going to take away that Lulu, something that we've seen a little bit more prolific for these 2 teams.
What is really sad about SK in drafts is that Blue doesn't play Akali and doesn't play Sylas. So usually you will see an Akali ban thrown on blue side or a Sylas ban on the blue side.
Okay, let's see if they're going to follow through. Karma and Renekton be the next 2 bans. Viego up and available. Rumble up and available. We were talking about that, Jinzao, and how important it is. And Akali's been banned from XL to blue.
Yep. Smelling an Ezreal, possibly first pick. Ezreal is absolutely broken in this meta, and SK have first picked it a bunch of times so far.
Well, 3 games for Jezu. He hasn't won on it yet, obviously.
I mean...
SK is currently winless, but I mean, a number of very important picks, and it looks like going to prioritize here the jungle matchup. I think that's probably smart to deny Dan another option.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Rumble can be very creative in the early game, especially when you get the level 6, you can decimate. But Dan is going with the all-crowd favorite. I cast him back on Fnatic Ryzen on the NLC. Trundle, Sejuani is his bread and butter.
I cannot accept crowd favorite and Sejuani next to each other. I have to disagree.
Ask Jankos.
Okay, well, we'll have to check in with him. Now, Dan's played this twice already. 1 win, 1 loss. The only other player that has played Sejuani this summer is Treatz.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that these 2 junglers are considering the options, and Jezu will instead lock the Tristana over the Ezreal.
So that screams to me that they want to play aggressive in the bot lane, right? Because Ezreal is something that stays safe, allows Lilipp to play away from the lane, but something that they said very well on the analyst desk is that, I think Kadril mentioned it, that Jezu and Treatz were playing so aggressive, brawly bot lanes, and here with Jezu swapping around all his supports, he hasn't been able to shine yet. Maybe that's what they have in mind. Lilipp is known from the Pride League to play aggressive in lane together with Unforgiven, but for XL, I really love what they're doing here, because they're like, you're gonna play aggressive, we're gonna play aggressive too, and they're locking in the Kalista together with the Azir.
Yeah, big champions. There's a lot of utility here on the XL side, and you mentioned it with the Tristana lock-in, potentially an aggressive bottom lane. The Sett, the Rumble, is a lot of playmaking opportunities, and that Sett, don't forget, is a flex. We can see it in multiple roles, multiple lanes. And we move into phase 2 now of the draft. Braum and Thresh banned away already. I'm very interested to see how XL and SK begin to round out their drafts. What direction do you think they're going?
Well, you're definitely going to need playmaking support, especially when you have a Kalista. You can't go with any other way. You need the Alistas, the Leonas, the Nautiluses. Any of these 3 will work. You grab them, you throw them back in together with Sejuani, and they create opportunities for you. Tristana also needs a very aggressive support, especially if they want to play a little bit more proactive in the early game versus XL.
Well, very interesting. Senna banned away there by XL, followed by Wukong, and Nautilus is one of Denyk's most played champions this summer. 2 games, both of them wins. As you mentioned, combos with Kalista very well. I'm feeling a Sett support here. I think everything you've talked about in terms of how Lilipp wants to get in people's faces and how the draft is slowly coming together in that way, it's just tingling to me. I have that idea.
Okay, now I haven't seen necessarily Lilipp play Sett yet, but it could be something they have been screaming behind the scenes. Kadril mentioned Sett has been so strong, but in the solo lane. He's so good into the bruises, into the Akali type of assassins. He's so good in general in mid and top.
And it's going to happen.
Okay, Trevor, okay.
The
You're the brain here.
Sylas and the Lee Sin are now locked in. Did you not just mention a moment ago you didn't think Blue was a Sylas player, something that we didn't expect?
He doesn't hit me like a player like this. He's mostly onto the enchanters, mostly the mages, control mages in the mid lane. That's his type that he likes to play. But I love the aggression. It's aggression all over the board for SK. And we said, XL, what they're not good at is the early game. What SK is good at is the early game. So early game proactivity is coming in, but XL are kind of covering their bottoms, you know. They have very laid back solo lanes, except the Camille, which I'm expecting where Dan is going to head for.
They definitely have a good team fight on their side, scaling some side lane pressure as well with that Camille. But I think for SK, the big story here, Lilipp has played one game of Sett that I can see his entire history, and it was a loss. Not expecting the Sylas from Blue, but when a team is 0-6 down, you have to change things up. And now we need to see how SK execute on this team composition. For XL, they cannot afford to make any mistakes. If they allow the, very aggressive in-your-face comp from SK to get ahead, it's going to be very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that both of these teams are staying true to the drafts that they like to play. Aggression in the early game from SK and team fighting potential for the other side of XL. I think it's the better battle for both of them.
Now the question is, can XL survive? That's what we're going to have to keep our eyes on. And for Lilipp, of course, his second game here on the SK roster. A lot of challenges face SK Gaming. As we take another look at the draft, we'll be loading up onto Summoner's Rift in just a moment. As always, the intense, awesome music is coming, and I'm trying to stall until it arrives. It's coming! It's SK Gaming taking on XL with Quickshot and Trouble. And we're on to the Rift, and immediately taking stock of the early positioning. XL somewhat grouped up around the red buff. Feels a bit defensive though, and you can already see Patrik and Denyk making their way down to the bottom lane. Where do you expect early action to come from?
Trevor, it's going to be a brawl on the top side. It's going to be an absolute brawl. We mentioned how Jenax really is good in his early laning phase, but we've yet to see the transition with the entire team. And also on the other side, you have Kryze onto the Camille. You have to get him ahead. You have to enable the split push potential later on.
You do, and of course, for Jenax, we'll take a look at some of those numbers. CSD at 15. The highest for his role at 17. Gold difference, also significant. XP difference, also very, very good.
The man's doing well in the early laning phase, but if everything else is falling apart, there's not much you can do later on.
And of course, he's on that Lee Sin. Once again, it is a champion that he has played relatively a high number of times, I should say. I'm trying to get my stat document up in just a moment. And right now, I think I want to see whether or not Treatz can actually use this Rumble to get another early game influence. We were talking about how good he can be and talking about the influence he can have by calling the shots and leading from the jungle.
And you're absolutely seeing it from his pathing as well. He wants to start bot side and then start heading towards the Lee Sin, trying to possibly get a gank, get some vision for the Lee Sin so Jenax can push on his own. And on the other side, you see that Dan doesn't want none of this nonsense. He wants to hit his level 6. He wants to go top lane later on onto the Camille, proc his passive and try to get a kill through that. But we mentioned that Rumble has a lot more proactivity earlier on, and we want to see this from Treatz.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, we've already seen that Sejuani a couple of times. I actually had huge doubts the first time that I saw it. Dan proved me wrong. We see big trading here between Jenax and Kryze, as is to be expected. And nothing too dramatic. The full clears are about to be finished up in a moment or two. And then Dan and Treatz, what direction will they go? We'll take a brief moment to talk about Dan, actually, because as we said during the draft, when you look at Dan in their wins, 79% kill participation. In losses, 55%. When you see the goal difference and the XP at 15, the influence he can exert can help XL pick up leads.
Yeah, and vice versa, right? When everything is falling apart on your map, when you've got 3 losing lanes and you're trying to extinguish fires everywhere, obviously you're going to fall behind yourself. And when you're the one starting the fights, you're going to have a couple of deaths on your back as well. So when Dan is looking good, he's looking great. When Dan is not looking that hot, the whole of XL doesn't look very hot either.
Yeah, XL right now pushed very deep into SK's territory. All 3 lanes just a moment ago were at SK's tower. And we have this expectation that SK, with the comp and with their playstyle we've seen, they have the ability to generate leads. They need to make those plays, and right now we're going to get to this point where Treatz can. We can see both junglers making their way to the mid lane.
Track Treatz, because he's not going to the mid lane. He's most likely going to go put a ward down and maybe head towards the top side to try and punish Camille. The wave is pushed for Kryze in the top lane. Luckily for him, though, he's got enough vision down.
Yeah, kudos there to Kryze. He was actually making his way into the river, trying to look to place a ward, and he was aware of the potential gank, you know, playing with respect, and this will just continue to play out. Now, for SK, do you feel any pressure for them to pick up any sort of advantages or kills early, or who do you think should be making the first move?
They have a lot of scaling on their side. The Sylas, the Tristana, the Rumble, even the Lee Sin. We talk about how he falls off in the late game, but right now he has more playmaking potential than ever, this champion. And on the other side, I think it's on to Excel to try and make moves in the bot side of the map and the top side of the map. Get your Camille ahead, try to snowball the Kalista, because the Kalista is one of these early game champions that if you start snowballing, she completely takes over the entire map.
And I mean, that Kalista was first pick for Excel, right? Yeah. So putting a lot of faith and trust into Patrik and what he can do on the champion. I do think, though, the XL team composition will be a little bit more streamlined or easier to execute as we get later into the game. A little bit more sort of straight up. Does Azir or Sejuani have impact? And right now, Dan's Sejuani's making his way towards Jenax. There's still a flash available to him, no ward. That's a good dash out, and that will force the flash. While that's going on, Blue jumps onto Nukeduck. No ultimates available, and ends up being an even trade. But first, gank for Dan, trading flash for flash.
Love that though, because the next time Jenax is going to try to push his lane without Treatz around, Dan could be there to capitalize onto that. And a Camille slash Sejuani duo is so deadly because Camille is a melee champion. She can proc the Sejuani passive so easily.
That's exactly what you talked about. Melee in the top lane.
Level 5 dive?
Dan was the first one to make the move. Treatz will have the support on Lilipp and Jezu. Takes the blast cone, jumping forward underneath the tower, taking so much damage. The flame spitter, as well as the dash forward from Lilipp, picks up first blood. It's instantly traded back, and now Treatz is caught out. Denyk is running down below 100 HP, and it looks like Dan should be able to pick this one up. 2 kills for XL, and it was SK that started the dive.
That makes no sense. The Rumble is level 5. He doesn't have Equalizer. They don't have no way of starting these fights. It has to be Lilipp walking into tower. You see, they don't even have the minions crashing yet underneath the tower. I think it was very poorly executed by SK and really nicely capitalized on by XL to punish over-aggression.
Yeah, well done by Denyk, landing every single skill shot. And the CC from that passive just turned that entire play around. I mean, bold decision-making from SK. While we were in the replay, there was a big trade in the top lane as Jenax jumped onto Kryze but didn't pick up the kill. And I think now Blue's going all the way forward. Emperor's Divide will knock Blue away, but Nukeduck is going to hold on to his flash. There's the rocket jump forward from Jezu. Level 4. He's going to be able to pick up the kill and rocket jump away. SK want to win the game on their terms.
And Jezu's like, fine guys, if you don't want to make the plays bot, if they're not going to work out, I'm going to play jungler and I'm going to go into the mid lane and take advantage of that. And that was very nicely done. Nukeduck had just TP'd into his lane again, so he's going to be extremely late and lose an entire wave.
This is exactly what you talked about, that Lilipp is an aggressive playmaker. We saw the tower dive bottom lane not going their way. But at 6.5 minutes, it's SK jumping into the face of XL over and over. They've got a small gold lead. And I'm excited to see where they go because we're about to hit level 6 for Treatz. He's just managed to pick that one up. The bottom lane's getting that way as well. And that playmaking just gets even more impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And with 1 kill into Jezu's pocket, you don't necessarily see a lot of kills on the SK bot lane due to the fact that everyone wants to play away from Jezu, that he's played with this split. And the most important thing is that this Kalista has not yet snowballed.
Not yet, but does have a 14 CS advantage. The wave is going to be pushed into Jezu for now, so he'll be able to balance that out in a moment or two. You can see Treatz shadowing the mid lane underneath Blue. Has the possibility to jump in there once that hijack becomes available and maybe setting up for it, but instead making a move towards the dragon or the bottom lane.
Yeah, there are no wards right there for XL, so he can make his way down there free. He also has the Equalizer. They've already engaged.
All right, Lilipp has got the pull back onto Denyk. The Equalizer's held onto. No teleports were available for XL.
As Treatz was making his way down bot, Patrik had just hit level 6. So engaging onto the Nautilus, he was just going to pull him out. Really nice eye for detail right there from Treatz.
Very nicely done indeed. And also, good for SK. Good trigger discipline. They don't over-engage this time round. They don't commit the ultimate. That would end up being wasteful. And the game is still very, very even. So both junglers have started to pick up their first items. Blue is once again facing off here against Nukeduck. And talk to me about Blue a little bit. He's obviously back on the SK roster and surprised by the Sylas pick, but he's doing okay for now into Nukeduck.
Yeah, honestly, melee to range matchup, I think he's doing quite well. He's been trying to go for the trades as well. He's trying to take the flash from Nukeduck as well, and Jenax.
Well, he's managed to get the kick back, and now Kryze forced to flash away, gets outside the baby cage. Once again, Treatz is holding onto that equalizer. If you keep your eyes on the minimap, a lot of champions making their way up the river. Lilipp's got the body slam available to him if he wants to, and Blue is waiting in the wings. This is being set up for a fight around the Heralds.
Yep, and absolutely, and both the ADCs are down there, so it's going to be a 4v4. The equalizer is massive in these scenarios because XL have to come through the choke point and have to be extremely careful for when that firing carpet drops down.
Now Nukeduck may be the first one into the river. Not this time around, as Blue is actually going to stand in the face of those Sand Soldiers. The engage onto Blue, and he's going to get chunked up the heel. He survives with the flash away. Manages to turn it back around to the Stolen Glacial Prison. The body slam dunk from Lilipp onto Kryze. Pushes him back. It's a 1-for-1, and now Kryze jumps up into the air and starts to make his way to retreat. Jenax tries to lock down Denyk, but it doesn't land right now. Nukeduck remains relatively healthy, and SK back away.
Nukeduck was so key to these fights, staying alive for that long, and even though, yes, they lose 2-for-1, Nukeduck makes sure that this Rift Herald will not go to the side of SK. But for the side of SK, this is really good news. They managed to completely win this fight, and they can go back there, right? They're gonna take the resources, they're gonna take more items, push that vision straight in, and go for that Rift Herald again. Now you see Blue gets called back. Kingslayer, the W is so strong on the Sylas, healing him up, and then they re-engage. Look at Nukeduck though. He deals with Treatz instantly, throws him back, and these shoulders that he puts in the choke point mean that if SK want to come through, they take a load of hurt, as you can see. Yes, they finish off Denyk, but they can't finish off the Rift Herald, which was the objective of this whole 4v4.
And you have to feel that we may have another setup for that, potentially. It is a 1,000 gold lead here to SK. They are the ones making the moves. They're the ones that have small advantages around the map. And that time round, Denyk hopping over the wall, jumping onto Blue, managed to allow XL to win the fight. And lanes will just about reset. And again, you keep talking about it. It was a bloodbath in the top lane, right? A lot of focus around at least the Herald over the last few minutes, but not a lot of tower pressure just yet.
I'm honestly surprised from the set of XL that they haven't been trying to get Patrik into these fights a little bit more. He has the exhaust, which is crucial if he gets jumped onto by the Sylas or the Lee Sin, and he can hold on his own, right? He's a Kalista, he likes to play early on, stack his arrows and then pop someone off, but they haven't necessarily been playing together with Patrik. Only now we see him move around the map, but then just going down bot.
Yeah, a little bit of indecision, it looks like, as Patrik and Denyk were making their way up. Once again have split up. So Patrik remains in lane.
Equalizer is up, they can still fight.
The Rift Herald has been started and secured by XL. I didn't catch a glimpse of its HP. And XL just sneak that one away. But a little bit of confusion, it feels like, or a little bit of mixed calling, maybe. As all of a sudden now, Lilipp is potentially setting up for yet another dive. It just feels like SK are fishing for kills. They're like, find hero, kill hero. That feels like the game plan.
And they're playing over Patrik's backs, right? When the Kalista is not there, they can look to fish for something. They can look for an opportunity. They have Nukeduck, who is basically very squishy in the middle as well. They can look to take his blast now that he has no teleport to return to lane. So they're looking for opportunities. The opportunities have not been made yet. So they're gonna start with the Dragon stacking. Now I want to see where the Rift Herald is gonna go, because I would really love for the gold to go onto Patrik, get that Kalista going.
And of course, if he manages to use that martial poise to hop around, all of these short-range champions that'll dive onto him can be a difficult champion to kill if he has Bloodline, if he has the ability to move around in a fight. And that will be one of the big targets for SK. But frankly, there's so many threats on both sides of the Rift. The team fights will be very, very interesting, because if one person is slightly separated from the rest of their team, it can have a huge influence on the outcome of the fight.
Yeah, there's so much pick potential, and honestly, I feel for both of these teams. You know, SK is 0-6 at this point. They're trying to pick up the first win. Who likely can you do that against other than XL, right? Who has been criticized a lot for the early game, and then XL on the other side. They're dying, they're thirsty for these playoffs. If you're not going to start now, that you're almost halfway through the season, when are you going to start picking up these wins?
Well, don't know, because time is very limited. And of course, for SK being 0-6, potentially 0-7, depending how this game plays out, it still wouldn't be the worst starts that we've seen in LEC history. Schalke, Rogue, Vitality all have longer loss streaks. under the LEC. For SK, they're in a position now where maybe they can start to turn that one around. Got a small gold lead. They've got a comp that they are very willing to use. And for the time being, they're just looking for those opportunities. So how do they make it happen? What do you want SK to do to get further ahead?
You're going to have to try and choke out the vision from XL, right? You're going to have to get them to face check you, use the equalizer to your advantage onto a choke point. But here, they're going to choose to use, instead of XL, the Rift Herald in the mid lane. They want to invest onto Nukeduck, get him on his core items much faster. Ooh.
Nicely done there. Well, Blue attempted to steal the Emperor's Divide and knock him away, but Nukeduck, the sliding glide, very well timed, so he escapes with his life.
Trevor, I'm so sad. I'm so sad that Patrik is not taking any love right now playing on the Kalista. He made all the way. He went all the way to meet, and he's like, can I please share some of that sweet gold as well? And Nukeduck was like, nope. Everyone backed off. Nukeduck got the money. So I think all eyes are on Nukeduck to specifically carry this game because so many resources have been put into him.
I also think for XL, when you look at their drafting and their prioritization on champions, a number of like Akali first picks and definitely like leaning on Nukeduck over the last couple of weeks. But at least in the draft today, pivoted, made his way to Patrik, and now we're 2 minutes away from the next Ocean Drake. The plates have fallen, and this laning phase just continues to sort of extend, and neither team has been able to find an opportunity or a way to gain control of the Rift.
Yeah, and we're gonna see, we have to see something happening up the top lane because both the junglers are right here. They're both looking for blood. There's absolutely no objective on the map to take right now. They just are dying for the kills. Kryze's Camille, though, has an item, and that Lee Sin does not. So this could be a big game changer because Sandra is absolutely broken on this patch, and you need an item yourself to go against it.
Yeah, I think Jenax will be able to back and pick one up right now as he does. Plus 24 CS in the top lane, slowly, quietly creeping ahead. And I think it's fair to say that when you look at SK and XL and how they're moving around the map and maybe some of the indecision with the players, there's a reason that these two teams are currently sitting at the bottom of the standings and trying to find their groove, trying to, you know, level up their play.
I'll give you a green zone, though. XL are not behind in the early game. Not that much, at least. It's like, no. Yeah, it's like 1K. It's fine. They're not massively behind. Their lanes have been doing okay. Nukeduck has been fed a lot of gold in the mid lane.
And if you're a fan for SK, that's a little worrying. You know, I think, again, one of the things I really appreciate whenever you draft a team composition that is relatively simple to execute or combine together, it just simplifies all of the nuances in the late game. And right now, there's a lot of tools for XL to use. They did pick up the first tower. Jenax has got the flash available to him. He also has a ward. The rest of SK making their way towards the mid lane, and we're a minute from the next dragon. So that feels like the focus.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why you bring Jenax down bot, trying to make a play into the mid lane to try and transition it into vision towards the bot side of the map. But XL are playing so carefully. They don't need to force anything yet. Yes, I'm worried a little bit for late game Kalista because it cannot compare to a late game Tristana. But if you have the Azir and no one can get near your Kalista, it can work.
Yeah, and you think, again, Camille, Kalista potentially hopping and skipping around the fight. It's, again, a lot of tools that they can use, but it comes down to execution. Pressure on the bottom lane, very deep vision set up here with Treatz and Lilipp. Two players for SK that can have a big impact. Of course, Lilipp making his way to the roster. Now let's take a look at the setup. Expectations for the fight here. Jezu will take the tower bottom, mid lane, and River rather is now in control of SK.
Yeah, and watch Jenax. He has already started walking down. He wants to be a participant of this fight. It is huge. He has his gold ring. He can make plays. Lilipp.
That's the engage from Lilipp. Managed to pull two together. Nukeduck forced to flash over the wall. He gets out to safety with the slide and glide. And the Glacial Prism won't lock anyone down, but SK managed to push XL away.
All massive ultimates are gone, though, from the side of XL. You've got Sejuani ult and Nautilus ult that are your two big engage tools for the fights. And, of course, Patrik no longer has his flash to be able to walk through choke points. So really good stuff right there from the side of SK. They pick up the fight. Yes, Jezu's not there. Yes, it doesn't result into any kills, but they're starting to start the dragons, which is very important.
It really, really is. And Lilipp currently starting to be the star of the show for me, despite the tower dive earlier. He's had so many engages and so many plays setting things up for SK. That's why they maintain this very small advantage with the dragon secured. There was no support in the top lane, so Dan will be able to pick up the second Rift Herald, and it looks like Patrik, as well as Denyk, will shove this wave in top, but they're not going to push further.
Yeah, and if you look, the bot lanes have already swapped as well. They're going towards the top side. Jezu took the tower down bot lane on his own. You got the gold for that. Now he wants to pressure even further up top. This is why I'm starting to get a little bit worried about Patrik onto that Kalista, because you lose your flash, you can no longer go through choke points to try and fight for these neutral objectives, and you can't push through your lane anymore because you don't have a defensive support with you. You have a Nautilus that cannot necessarily protect you. He wants to engage and go in, and then you grab him back. So I think Jezu and Lilipp have been doing a very, very, very great job at playing a little bit more aggressive, Lilipp finding the opportunities, and it actually shows right here with SK being ahead the whole time.
Yeah, and of course, this will be the second tower now secured in favor of SK Gaming. We're approaching 20 minutes on the clock. Still, it is only 1,000 gold separating these two teams. And I think one of the things that I was actually kind of surprised by when we were preparing for this game was that SK have had significant gold leads in their previous games. That was 20 minutes against Astralis, 24 minutes against Misfits, 17 minutes against Schalke. Those gold leads.
Into Excel.
But then the team fights and the late game just don't go their way. So at 20 minutes, an even footing, like relatively close game, and then you start thinking this is getting a little bit more into XL's territory. This is getting a little bit more into XL's strengths. You get nervous.
Yeah, and I had a podcast with Treatz as well, and he said, it's great because I get to shot call from the very early game right now that I'm jungle, but usually when you get 1+, you get 1- as well. What happens in the mid game? Like, sure, our early game is strong, but then we've lost it in the mid game, and we have yet to see the transition, even from a mid to late game from SK, whilst Excel are picking our baton champions, the Nautilus, the Sejuani, the Azir, the Camille, all our champions that want to engage and choke you into a team fight, and they don't usually lose when they're even or slightly behind.
Yeah, and of course the impact that those ultimates can have will determine the outcome. We're 2 minutes away from the next Dragon. I think SK and XL very clearly committing to a let's fight around big objectives strategy. It doesn't feel like either team has really taken advantage of the state of the lanes, pushing the jungle to like squeeze out advantages. They just kind of wait for those big objectives to fight.
But if you look at the vision, especially in the bot side of the map, which is where XL want to focus, right? They want to stop that dragon stacking from the side of XL. Look at the vision behind enemy lines on the bot side of the map. They're clearly going for something like a flank, try to catch someone off guard, having Kryze with the Camille that can help as well. And they also have the mid lane tower, which is huge for vision.
Yeah, but neither Kryze nor Nukeduck have their teleports available, so need to wait a little bit longer for that before it'll become relevant. And as you can see with the 3 towers secured for SK, I'm going to try to put some pressure in mid and then maybe peel down towards the Dragon. But Baron is now an objective to concern about it. Patrik just walks straight into the darkness and gets dunked down. I am flabbergasted.
Yeah, that would be one word to call that, but good pickup here from SK. Taking the Kalista completely out means that whoever goes into the side of XL cannot be saved, and they have the chance to also start Dragon. There's a ward in the pit, though.
There is indeed. You have to presume that's just misinformation or lacking information. Patrik walks into the river and gets taken out. 4 members of XL now pushing into SK, who are on the Baron. Blue's coming in from behind. Lilipp jumps forward, doesn't catch anyone from XL, but Blue does. Glacial Prism manages to lock down Dan. He replies with one of his own. There's 2 kills there. Correction, tower and the kill. And SK, they can move back to Baron.
Yeah, absolutely. Smite down. Dan is dead. Really good pickup right there. Even though Lilipp burns his flash, they managed to re-engage with the help of Blue right there. And that is good stuff. But you have to keep track of the mid lane because Shelly has been...
That's ridiculous. XL's Rift Herald has been able to pick up more towers than their champions have in that mid lane push. Manages to push all the way to the inhibitor. The Baron is stopped. But it is just a very strange sequence of events. And there you go. 2 towers to Shirley.
Wait, so it's worth? Patrik is saying it's worth right now. Because, like, yeah, I got caught, but it was all planned, guys. It was for Shelly to go down to the mid lane, take 2 towers, including the inhibitor tower that is actually huge for the side of XL. And you see the indecision hitting again. SK in the mid game. Do we want to go for the Baron? Maybe yes, maybe no. They're taking a peek. Yes, Dan is dead. Smite is down. We still don't want to go for it. We're losing towers. And right now, XL are the first ones to set up on that Dragon Pit.
And it's so important for XL to deny the 3rd Dragon. They managed to pick up a kill onto Lilipp. Jenax jumps all the way forward onto Denyk. Doesn't find the kill just yet. Flash still available to him. And the ultimate as well. Managed to pick up the crab, and the Dragon is still in the pit. This will be number 3 for SK. They've got nearly 2,000 gold in the lead, and Blue is looking for the flank. Jenax take the Lee syndrome, doesn't do it this time round. Treatz gets locked in prison, he's got no equalizer, goes golden. Blue jumps onto Nukeduck, he's stolen the Emperor's Divine. Nukeduck throws his down, not yet fired from Blue. Inside the pit, the Dragon is picked up by XL, but the fight is clearly won by SK, although not just yet. Denyk manages to catch out Jezu, who flashes away and rocket jumps, but he doesn't manage to get to safety. Now Nukeduck's forced to flash and Blue still not done. He's managed to fight every single member of XL. As it stands, XL get the Dragon, and it was a 2 for 3 in kills.
Yeah, making sure that you stop the streak on the Dragons from SK.
Oh my word, Nukeduck chases all the way forward. Lilipp manages to survive, respawn, bring back the middle lane, and SK get another.
Yeah, and it all starts from this man. Even in the fight in the bot lane, he got caught, but it did start from him. And Blue's flank on that fight was absolutely detrimental for how this actually played out. You will see that Lilipp here gets caught, doesn't get to have his ultimate be active in this fight to try and make a situation, but Blue, very importantly, unspotted coming in from the bot side, putting XL into a sandwich of SK players and keeping Nukeduck away. That is the biggest thing that Blue could do, because we've mentioned over and over, XL have put their eggs into the Nukeduck basket, and Nukeduck here couldn't do much because Blue was in his face the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And Jenax started the fight and was alive towards the end. Lilipp made it all the way back to the middle lane, and I'm starting to feel an SK win. 3,500 gold up. Nukeduck says, what up, bro? 7,000
wasn't even
damage.
allowed to DPS, and he did 7k damage.
Absolutely, but it's a very interesting team fight. That is the word that I'm going to use. And neither team really able to single out targets or, you know, focus fire down to pull the advantage. But XL, they did stop the Dragon stacking. They got one, which means SK are going to need a little bit more time. And SK, they've already played the Baron bait, and it feels like they're setting up the vision for another time.
Yeah, and if XL don't feel like going to contest the next Dragon, that's fine, because they bought themselves an extra 5 minutes to get that item, to get that stopwatch in, to get more control wards down in the map. So that is very, very, very huge that they managed to stop that. They have the tower in the mid lane from Nukeduck as well, so they can actually start pushing out the mid lane and trying to get some control of the jungle and the Baron pit.
Not a single flash available for XL. They have to step all the way into the darkness, relying on the Kalista W to get some form of vision. But SK have backed away, conceded control for now to spend the gold that they have. And once again, reposition.
And you see how huge it is to not have vision for XL. Blue was already making his way down bot lane, trying to push out the wave, while XL had to bundle up as 5 as a unit, missing CS, missing experience on the side lanes, trying to regain vision. This is why we always say mid lane tower can break or make the game.
Gives you so much mobility between the lanes. And XL held on to it for a very long time. But as the fights have played out, and as each engagement has occurred, it's SK that have the better of almost every scenario. We're 26 minutes in. It's still a lead here, and a composition that is very, very built around jumping into XL's face. And XL currently haven't been able to win those fights.
See, XL pick these weird compositions where they kind of want to play aggressive with the Camille, the Sejuani, the Kalista, and then they stick in an Azir for Nukeduck, and they did it before, and it worked. I think it was against Mad Lions, and it worked. But it won't always work, because the composition doesn't necessarily make 100% sense. On the other side, if you look at XL, they have an all-in-your-face composition, the Lee Sin diving in, the equalizer, Blue onto the Sylas. It makes sense, right? You choke them out of vision, and then you can engage on them when they step in.
The thing that I really like, though, is if you step away and you look at how this game has played out, and the fact that SK made that substitution, and it's been Lilipp that's leading the charge, exactly like you talked about from the ERLs and what you've seen in the lower leagues. It is an indication of the direction SK will be heading. And as this entire game has played out, we're 40 seconds till the Dragon. So buckle up, we're going to have another fight.
We're almost late game.
And let's look at the vision. Let's set some expectations for how the fight will play out. I thought it was going to be Dragon. Maybe SK are going Baron. What do you think?
At this point, if I was SK, I would flip it. I would let XL go grab the Dragon, because they don't want SK getting the 3 Dragon point. And then if I am SK, I'm just gonna go over to the Baron and take that and try to push out to close out some of more of the vision. All the tier 2s are standing still up for Excel. Take this and then you can transition to the next dragons. If you don't and you feel like you have enough vision from the side of SK, you can actually fight this because Excel have to walk through choke points and Equalizer is so strong there.
Teleport, teleport, teleport coming in.
They're going for the
SK
dragon.
Gaming making their way forward. Keep your eyes on Lilipp and Blue. They've been the engaged tools. Blue manages to steal away the ulti from Nautilus, but he is blown up where he stands. Patrik gets the first of the fight. Jenax is trying to jump onto Kryze, waiting for the Hourglass to time out. Denyk gets pushed all the way forward by the Fate's Call, and Kryze does a little bunny hop off the wall. Lilipp, the only victim so far, and now XL control the mid lane.
Again, we say he either makes or breaks the team fights, right? But twice he's gotten caught, and this time SK wasn't able to get anything out of this really good pickup from XL right there. And that is another free dragon that they get. SK, you were a bit undecisive before on the Baron. Are they actually going to commit to that? I don't know.
Well, there's a couple of ultimates missing from XL. Nukeduck and Kryze, the only ones with theirs available.
It's going down really fast.
Aaron is starting to melt. 3,000 HP, 2,800. Dan is inside the pit. He can go for the steal, but that's a stun. A catch, that's a dead Kryze. Baron picked up by SK. They turn their attention to Denyk. He gets melted down. The Blue continues the chase. Rocket jump forward. Equalizer burns XL inside their jungle. And Jezu will be able to look for yet another for the resets. Patrik runs for his life and is taken down by Blue.
That is the first team fight SK has been able to win in the late game, Trevor, and they have the Baron. 4 members are dead. 35-second cooldowns right here. SK might be picking up the first win.
Trouble, they've done it after 6 consecutive losses. They come into a game against XL, put together a aggressive team composition. Dan is the last member standing from XL. He will get cold in front of his Nexus turrets. And nobody beats SK in summer 7 times in a row. SK Gaming pick up a few more kills, pad their stats, have a little bit of fun before they focus the Nexus, and SK pick up their first win of summer. I am very happy for the SK players, and they look ecstatic. But I have to be honest, that was a difficult game to watch. And I think there will be a lot of takeaways for both sides.
I don't know what you're saying, Trevor. I have a big smile on my face right now.
Congratulations, Trouble. All that needed for SK to pick up a win was for you to shoutcast their games, right? Good luck, charm, indeed.
I think maybe you should invite me for the next weeks to come as well.
Okay, might be an idea.
Yeah,
we'll see.
They might make playoffs
I'll have to check with a scriptwriter and see whether or not SK pick up more wins.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. But actually, you saw how ecstatic Lilipp was as well. Kadriel mentioned how important it is for someone who might not necessarily be ready for the LEC, not only to be put in the LEC, but to be put in an LEC team that is 0-6, that nothing has been working for, and he made it work. Even when his engagement didn't work
Questionable.
out. Even when he got caught, he tried. And that's what was missing from the SK bot side of the map.
Hold that thought for 1 second. Hold that thought for 1 second. Key player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Treatz, Blue, and Jezu.
Where's
and
Lilipp?
I have to agree with you that it's an indication of the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Enable Lilipp to make those plays.
Yeah.
Get in the faces. Force your opponents to go down. SK pick up their first win. Interesting game for XL. They continue to show sort of a slowness in the early game.
I think it was a head scratcher also with the Azir. Yes, they made it work. I think it was against Mad Lions, but it just, the whole composition just didn't necessarily 100% make sense. Half of them wanted to go in, half of them not. The Kalista never went online, so.
Yeah, it didn't work out for them, and of course, SK picked up the win. Misfits Gaming are the top team in the LEC right now before they take on Schalke 04. We'll take a walk down memory lane to the last time the Rabbits were on their way towards greatness.
I never doubted them, Trevor.
That was awesome.
I never doubted them.
They are out there, waiting to be discovered. Some of them are big, and some of them are small. But that's the thing with ideas. They don't just come to you, To find them, you have to move. Kia, movement that inspires.
The systems are overloading. We can't risk another game.
We need to take a break and regroup.
We're starting to lose our mind. Captain, we cannot go back to Elo Hell. Last time it took us months to get out of it.
Initiate break protocol.
Hurry up!
Yes! Yes! I did it! We did it! We did it!
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Welcome back to LEC Summer. SK Gaming grabbed their first win here in week 3 as they take down XL Esports and Treatz. I imagine it's a moment you've been waiting for. How do you feel right now?
I mean, yeah, definitely. It feels really good to win, obviously, but one win is obviously not enough to make playoffs, and we have to keep the momentum up and pick up more wins in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, it's not enough, but you know, step by step, you grab the first one. And I mean, you've been in these situations before where you could have won before that, but there was always a time where things would go in shambles and everything would collapse for, I don't know, maybe communication reasons, which is something Jezu mentioned. What was different today actually against XL?
I think the biggest difference was kind of the early game and the draft. We had a lot of confidence going into the late game just from the champ select itself. So I think it was kind of easy to make calls and in general play on the objectives for us. And I think, I mean, it was just a cleaner late game than we had in the previous games, although it was not perfect, but it was definitely an upgrade.
I agree, but we could see that the game was going a bit longer and longer. Weren't you afraid that XL could rely on the scaling that they have to finally grab the good fight that would lead us to the win?
I mean, I don't think Azir can really teamfight against our comp that well, so even though he has strong scaling, I would not say that we were scared at all. If I drop my ult on him, then he has a hard time fighting, so I think it was kind of more up to us to play our champs good to win, rather than them playing good, and I think we played better than them, so we deserve this win.
Yeah, I agree. You were clearly the better team today. Congrats again on the win, Treatz. I have a question, Joe, because things were not going so well with Jezus on the bot lane and maybe missing out on having an actual coach to help you guys. So you brought in Lilipp this week, but I feel like the community has been wondering why didn't you go back on the bot lane, maybe promoting the academy jungler? Can you explain a bit on that?
I mean, we felt like Lilipp would be a good fit for the team because he's a strong individual player, and the communication changing from jungle to support would be another big change for us. So we just thought that if I keep playing jungle and we have strong early games, that we can pick up wins like that. And I think it's honestly going to be the best case for us right now. And I mean, honestly, we're confident to keep picking up wins and making playoffs still. Yeah,
I was about to ask, do you feel like you're finding your footing with this new synergy with SK?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's definitely still weird for me to play jungle, and we have some role swaps and stuff like that, but I think everyone is kind of finding their footing, and we're becoming more and more confident the more scrims we have with each other, so it's a matter of time, I think, and in the end, we will look for as many wins as we can, and this one was a good one to start with.
Yeah, too many more wins for SK Gaming, but for now, Treatz, thank you so much for the interview, and again, congrats on taking down XL today.
Thank you, Laure.
And we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes to see if Misfits can stay first in the LEC as they will play against Schalke 04. Stay tuned.